A really interesting conversation that I saw on ESPN, NFL Live, the program in particular. Marcus Spears, former Dallas Cowboy, on there amongst others. Dan Orlovsky, Ryan Clark, Mina Kimes. And they were talking about the run game and the return of the run game in the NFL. So to further discuss this, I figured there's no better person to talk about this than Yahoo Sports' Charles McDonald, Forverts himself on Twitter. Charles, what's happening, my man?
What's up? I didn't know you were running the whole ship now. That's cool.
Yeah, man. I'm here holding it down right now. I've got my partner coming in, but I was like, look, for the time that I have to hold it down solo, Charles is the person I want to talk to. So I appreciate you spending a little time with me.
Of course.
And I don't know, did you have an opportunity to see this segment that NFL Live did today? I found it to be one of the more fascinating things that we get out of NFL football media.
I saw a little bit of it, but, I do think that, just in general, like, the return of the run game is it's interesting, right? Because when you look at kind of like how defenses are structured, and I guess, I think Brandon Staley is kind of the guy that has got people talking about it more, but they've been coaching doing it for a long time, just in terms of, like, the return of kind of too high safety looks and how it can be easier to run the ball on them at times. I mean, I talked to Tyler Algier and Caleb Huntley from the Falcons a few weeks ago, just to talk about the resurgence of their running game, because I think what makes teams like the Falcons interesting is, you're not really looking at a whole lot of, I hate to say this about, like, professional football players, but, like, a whole lot of, bona fide studs, star players, that guys are just kind of dripping with talent. But when you put the whole piece together where defenses are right now, guys like Tyler Algier and Caleb Huntley can end up becoming punishing battering rams for where the Falcons are right now, and it's kind of really fun resurgence of the run game. Well, let me ask you, like, what did you take away from the video when you saw it today on medias or TV?
Yeah, one of the things that I found interesting, and just to lay out the full context of what we're talking about here, yards per completion is down to the lowest it's been since 1933 at 11 yards per completion. Yards per carry is up to 4.5, which is quite literally the highest that it's been in the history of the NFL. And the thing that I found very interesting was the idea of, like, zigging when everybody zags. We see this in the NFL a lot. Once you see one thing kind of proliferate, you'll see a defense then respond to it. Or when you see a defense proliferate, you'll see an offense respond to it. And one of the things they were talking about, I know Mina spoke to it, was like the idea that outside and inside zone is down this year. And you're seeing power and counter, like those concepts of the running game really coming back. And I was talking with Brian Broaddus, former Super Bowl winning NFL scout here and at 105 through the Fan. And he was saying that one thing about it is, like, the idea that the run game, it's easier for bad linemen to go and attack in the run game as opposed to pass block, right? Like, one of the things that you see. So I do wonder if those things compared or, like, put together, the idea of you're attacking with the run and you're doing it in a way that's a little bit different than what we've seen recently, especially with the different personnel that we're starting to see in the league on defensive lines.
Right. Yeah, and it's not even just defense; like, it's linebackers too. I have a football group chat with, to me, like, some of the smartest people I think are in the industry. And
I agree, by the way.
Years, thank you. But we were talking a couple of years ago, like, man, like, are these teams really are 215-pound, 220-pound linebackers in the NFL? Is that just like a thing that we're going to accept? Because, if, like, I understand at the time the passing was up, it was astronomical, so it makes sense to have guys who are a little bit faster, have a little more range on the intermediate levels, and maybe teams will catch you up, like, on a wheel route or deep post if, like, a slot receiver or a running back is going to hit you with that. But there's a downside to having a roster filled with guys. I mean, look at the Cleveland Browns right now. Their linebacker core made up by Deion Jones and Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, JOK.
Yeah.
And those guys probably average out, like, as playing weights between 215 and 220. So I think what you're seeing here, especially, like, with the lack of inside zone and outside zone, basically what outside zone does is, like, we're going to stretch the defense horizontally and try to find a punching spot to get up there. That can be tough against speedy linebackers, because if they have an opportunity to rally over the top and kind of fit those holes, then you don't really need a whole lot of guys in the box. And with the size that linebackers are, you can even get safeties playing some of those positions at the same time. So really, and I think the Chiefs are one of the clearest examples of this over the past year or so, where they said, fine, you guys want to stop the run or you guys want to stop the pass and load up on these light backers and stuff, then we're going to go trade for Orlando Brown, and we're going to draft Trey Smith, who weighs 330 pounds. We're going to draft Creed Humphrey. We're going to sign Joe Thuney. And now, instead of, using these blocks where, you're either having single blocks or you're having guys like switch off defenders on the go, we're going to say, all right, if you want to have a 220-pound linebacker in the box, here's 3 blockers at him. We're going to pull 2 of them, and we're going to send our 230-pound running back right behind you. And I think that's kind of where you're seeing, for lack of a better term, NFL teams get back to their caveman roots, because
establish it.
Establish it, right. I don't want to throw on these 220-pound linebackers because they're as fast as some of the defensive backs. But if I can get my 320-pound offensive lineman running downhill at your smaller defense, and I think that's what's going to work because I'll say this. I think another good example of this, a guy who's struggling right now, is Brandon Staley.
Mm-hmm.
So the question I have with Brandon Staley, like when he came from the Rams, like obviously if there is a way to run a modern defense, I think Brandon Staley is on the right idea. But it kind of helps to have number 99 in the middle,
right.
Aaron Donald. When you don't have them, teams are running for 5.5 yards a carry. When you do have them, you have maybe one of the best defenses that we've seen in this era of football. So it's kind of interesting to see just where the pull and push are. I don't know if this is going to be like a full return to Smash Mouth with guys like Mike Allstott carrying the ball.
Right.
But we should see, heavier run sets, more powerful run sets, a lot of counter, a lot of power, just take advantage of the size difference.
So we're talking to Charles McDonald of Yahoo Sports at 4verts on Twitter. And Charles, I mean, I know you know this. Around here in Dallas, run defense, run stopping is a concern, and as we've established, some of this is just like the size of the defenders that we're putting out there. And that's not necessarily something that's going to change on a dime. It's not that's something that you have to change over time and through drafts or through free agency. So like, in your expert opinion, as somebody who's played in the trenches before and those things, do you see any reason or any way, a path to remedying a poor run stopping ability outside of just get a big old dude, get Aaron Donald, get Jordan Davis, something like that in the middle?
Hey, come on, bro. It's week 10, week 11. This is what you got at this point.
Right.
But I think even the Cowboys, like they tried to fix it a little bit by trading for Jonathan Hankins, right?
Mm-hmm.
But at this point in the season, like a trade like that is probably the best you can do. So for the Cowboys, like honestly, where Dallas is right now is they need their passing offense to kind of protect their run defense, right? Or really just the offense in general, because I think passing wise, I know they had a few slip-ups on Sunday, but the overall sample size of the Cowboys defense says that this is a defense that can really shut down anyone through the air. And I think, like, if you just have 2 plays that are low percentage plays kind of turn your favor in that Packers game, you probably win pretty decisively. But they weren't able to get it done. But I think in order for the Cowboys' run defense to kind of get shielded, Dallas is just going to have to score a whole lot of points, which they can do. I mean, they've been one of the best offenses in the NFL since Dak Prescott got back from his injury. So, like, if you can just force teams into a situation where they have to throw, then, I think that's probably where Dallas is probably going to find their most success. But at the same time, you can be up 28-14, and the Packers are just going to say, well, our best chance is just to keep handing the ball off, or even look at what happened with Washington and Philadelphia on Monday. Our best answer is just to keep handing the ball off and trying to pick up those yards with time, because what we do know is passing is more efficient on a yards per play basis than running. But if you go back to that Washington game against Philadelphia on Monday night, what you're seeing is if you can pick up 3 to 7 times, literally 3 to 7 yards, literally every time you hand the ball off, that's something that becomes immensely valuable over the course of the game. And it's why they ran the ball, I think, like 47 times on Monday night. So it's interesting because I tend to think that like when you look at these teams that can really run the ball, like that's where you kind of find the feisty teams and the upset teams. But for a team as good as Dallas is, and I do believe them to be one of the best teams in the NFL and like with absolute Super Bowl contenders, especially in the NFC this year, the best way for them to hide a run defense, score points. Because if you can force the other team to have to throw and they have to block Michael Parsons and try not to throw the Trayshawn Diggs and avoid DeMarcus Lawrence at the same time, you're going to win a whole lot of football games.
Talking to Charles McDonald of Yahoo Sports. Charles, if you allow me to zig a little bit here, obviously you've ventured into a place where we're talking about Dak Prescott, and there's been a lot of consternation after the game that he had this past weekend on Sunday where, you know, it wasn't the greatest game. And I've been having conversations, a lot of conversations about quarterbacks, as everybody does because the NFL and it's football. But,
right.
like, obviously there's a scarcity of quarterback play. We know that. And some of the things I've thought about is, are expectations too high, like just generally for quarterbacks?
Yes. They're way too high. They're way too high. Because the thing is, like, I couldn't think that the coaching being so good as it is you know, because it's kind of why we're seeing quarterbacks play so well. Because there is another alternate universe where, like, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, where they turn out to be kind of nothing. Like, if they came out 20 years ago, they might just be like Kyle Bowler or something like that. But, you know, these offenses are so precise, and when you get it with a coach or supporting cast that can really kind of take advantage of what these guys can do, it's pretty easy to be a fan of, you know, say the Commanders and look at Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, and be like, man, I want a quarterback who can do something like that. Like, I want a quarterback that can throw over the mountain. But the thing is, like, you don't need a quarterback to be that level of, like, physically gifted in order to have a good offense or even a great offense. It's about the whole picture, and I do tend to think that not only, like, is our view of what, like, a good veteran quarterback should be off, but also, like, these rookies coming into the league, it's tough because a lot of them have had success very early on in their careers. But at the same time, you need to give guys a chance to grow and stuff. And I think that our expectation and viewpoint of what a winning quarterback looks like as NFL fans can be a little bit warped. You know, you're not going to get a flawless guy 100% of the time. You might get a guy that has a bad game or a bad stretch of games. Doesn't mean he's a bad quarterback. It just means football's really, really, really hard, and we should adjust our expectations.
Also, we're dealing with mutants, and this is where I want to plug a campaign that I jumped in on, which is that Patrick Mahomes is the most underrated player in the league. Please expound, Charles.
That's right. The most underrated player in the NFL, Patrick Mahomes. It's funny because the whole take burst from, like, the NFL top 100 list, which is, look, I've been in NFL locker rooms before. Guys do not take that list seriously whatsoever. They usually just put their buddies on there and then, like, Tom Brady or something like that. But to see Patrick Mahomes be ranked number 8, I was like, no. That's not right.
We've already forgotten.
You're right. We've already forgotten. He's either 1 or he's 2. It's either, for me at least, it's either Patrick Mahomes or Aaron Donald. Like, those were the 2 guys that I had, like, in their own best player in the league tier. So I just started doing Patrick Mahomes, underrated. And then I got the blessing from PFF week 1 after he absolutely lit the Cardinals up through, like, 5 touchdowns, was basically flawless. He was ranked, like, the 8th best quarterback in the league that week. So, you know, I get people every once in a while, they're like, what are you saying? Patrick Mahomes is the most underrated player in the league, blah, blah, blah. And then somebody else will put Patrick Mahomes as not the best quarterback in the NFL, and the case revives itself again. I think he's entered, like, this Peyton Manning tier, honestly, of how good he is.
Right. It's crazy. Like, he does crazy stuff, and we go, yeah, that's mundane. Show us something else. Like, we are so spoiled. We are so very spoiled. Yeah. All right. Real quick. Funniest situation in the league right now is what?
Oh, Raiders. Absolutely. we lost to Jeff Saturday. Okay. Here's how I feel about that. There's like a moment of pride. Obviously, you go to work to get paid. That's why anyone goes to work.
Absolutely.
But there's a level of pride in your work that you need to have to show up to work every day. And if I was Josh McDaniel, after losing to Jeff Saturday and allowing Matt Ryan to have the longest rush of his career.
At
37 years old. He had a 39-yard rush. Turn in your key card, dude. Like, you're going to come back to work on Monday? Like, are you crazy? I wouldn't want anyone to talk to me. I don't want any cameras in my face. I don't want any reporters asking me questions. And the fact that this team went into the season with, like, we got Derek Carr, we got Darren Waller, we got Devontae Adams, we got Hunter Renfrow, we got Josh McDaniels. We're lit. And then 10 weeks later, hey, is Bryce Young going to be a Raider? Is C.J. Stroud going to be a Raider?
Right.
That's got to be the funniest situation in the NFL.
Also, you got the owner having to come out and say, no, this dude that we just hired 10 games ago, we feel great about him still.
And you know why we feel great about him? Because I can't afford to pay him
Right.
this contract because we just fired the last guy last year.
We're
and what I'm
still
not going to do is pay 3 guys to be my head coach when only one of them can do the job.
Not even gonna do. You make that sound like that's like a conscientious objection. I can't. I
Right.
don't have the money to
can't.
do it.
I don't have the money to do it.
Charles,
as cash poor as billionaires can be, Mark Davis qualifies.
that's right. That's right. Charles McDonald, Yahoo Sports. I appreciate you, my man. Before we let you go, what you listening to?
Man, Boldy James.
Bro, that album is incredible.
Yes, both of them are incredible. But the one I've been listening to a lot, Mr. 1008 with Boldy James, The Future Wave. That's fire.
Yes. Strong agree. You always listen to the good stuff. You always bring us the good stuff. I appreciate you, my man.
All right, later.